He took little X.
Funny. And little Instagram.
He doesn't own Instagram.
He doesn't own Instagram. He just took little X.
The shrews of The View couldn't sink any lower. They go and surprise you by mocking a cute little child. Apparently, Elon Musk's 4-year-old son, X, is fair game because Whoopi Goldberg has decided to mock his name.
I don't know what else to say, but it is. I'm just looking at this video and it's so bizarre.
Whoopi Goldberg's recent remark about Elon Musk's 4-year-old son on The View ignited a media storm nobody saw coming. At first, it seemed like a typical day on set. The co-hosts bantered, cracked jokes, and offered opinions. Yet the second Whoopi mocked the boy's name, viewers recoiled. Even people who never side with Musk sprang to his defense, insisting that a 4-year-old should be off limits. Musk wasted no time firing back. On social media, he slammed The View for singling out his son, calling it bullying. His stance wasn't about being a billionaire or tech innovator, it was about fatherhood. That authenticity struck a chord with many who saw him as a dad protecting his child. The show's attempt at humor suddenly looked more like a cruel jab, and the backlash spread quickly. Joy Behar then seemed to double down, suggesting Musk shouldn't bring his son to press events if he wanted privacy. This fueled public outrage. Regular viewers found the comments jarring, and social media was ablaze with criticism. The idea that The View was tearing down a preschooler for ratings infuriated parents and non-parents alike. Rumors soon circulated about ABC executives scrambling to handle the crisis. Sponsors, wary of being tied to a bullying scandal, considered distancing themselves from the program. For years, The View thrived on heated debates and provocative discussions, but ridiculing a child appeared to cross a line. People asked whether the show's hosts had lost their moral compass in the chase for attention. Past controversial remarks by Whoopi and Joy resurfaced, fueling claims they had a habit of going too far. Some insisted this was just more proof that daytime talk had traded authentic conversation for cheap shots. Musk's colossal online influence only heightened the situation. With a single post, he could spread the story to millions, magnifying every misstep by the show's hosts. This raw power left The View vulnerable. Speculation arose that Musk might push for legal action, pointing out that a minor was targeted. Even if no lawsuit emerged, the threat alone could drive sponsors away. Meanwhile, a wave of cancel the View hashtags flooded social networks. Critics accused the hosts of child shaming. Others demanded an apology, feeling the co-hosts owed the public a reckoning for attacking a 4-year-old. Loyal fans attempted to defend Whoopi and Joy, framing their commentary as harmless jokes. Yet many found that defense hollow. Behind the scenes, producers reportedly scrambled to contain the fallout. Talk of crisis meetings and possible disciplinary measures leaked. The show's well-known format, bold commentary, humorous banter, and occasional heated fights now looked reckless. Some viewers wondered if the show's entire approach was built on courting controversy without regard for the real-world consequences. With Musk at the center of this feud, any resolution seemed distant. He rarely backs down from public spats, especially when family is involved. His defenders cheered him on, calling out The View for what they viewed as blatant hypocrisy. Clips of the co-hosts calling for respect in past episodes circulated, highlighting the disconnect between those appeals and the current scandal. As tensions rose, ABC executives confronted the grim possibility of losing advertiser support. Brands usually don't want to be linked to even the perception of bullying. If sponsors withdrew, The View could face a financial hit. Worse, the incident cast doubt on how much the show respected boundaries. Once a daytime staple known for lively debate, it risked becoming known for cheap shocks. Amid the uproar, some critics claimed Musk was using this to accuse the woke media of bias. He'd frequently clashed with journalists before, arguing that mainstream outlets twist facts. This latest drama only reinforced that narrative for his followers. Even those who disliked Musk agreed that publicly mocking a child's name was harsh. By now, viewers who had never paid attention to The View weighed in, curious about the fuss. The show that once drew audiences with celebrity guests and political spats was under a microscope for a different reason: humiliating a preschooler. Musk's condemnation turned a minor incident into a headline-grabbing debate on morality in media. Producers tried shifting the conversation to other topics, hoping the scandal would fade, but the internet rarely forgets so quickly. Each time a co-host spoke about compassion or fairness, critics blasted the show's hypocrisy. The repeated calls for boycotts and sponsor pullouts escalated, even if official campaigns fizzled. The damage to The View had been done. The public saw it not just as a loose-lipped talk show, but as a platform that found nothing wrong with jabbing a kid. Some insisted The View owed a formal apology to Musk's family. Others argued that it needed an internal reevaluation. In the midst of it all, Musk let hints drop that he might increase pressure on the show. He could release more damning remarks or push advertisers to make a stand. With billions at his disposal and a massive online following, the possibility loomed that he would wage a prolonged campaign, using the story to expose what he considered mainstream media's darker side. Network insiders suggested that ABC executives weighed several outcomes. They could issue a swift condemnation of the segment, but that might look like an admission of guilt. They could say nothing, hoping interest would fade, risking a deeper backlash if viewers saw them as dismissive. Or they might consider asking Whoopi and Joy for on-air clarifications or apologies. None of these paths guaranteed a smooth resolution. For longtime fans of The View, this scandal felt jarringly out of character, even if the show's history of controversies wasn't new. Crossfire and jokes about political figures might be part of the brand, but belittling a toddler sparked a different kind of outrage. Opponents of the show accused it of operating under a double standard, where certain moral lines don't matter if the host personally dislikes someone. Musk's involvement made headlines bigger and louder. Questions arose about whether he'd use his platform ownership to shape public sentiment and keep negative press on The View. Some believed the show was facing a formidable enemy, a billionaire driven by fierce protectiveness over his child and a deep skepticism of network TV. In the eyes of many, Musk had the advantage. He was playing offense while the show scrambled to respond. Increasingly, it looked like The View was nearing a tipping point. Could it overcome this public relations fiasco, or would it see a permanent decline in viewership? Anger over that one remark kept growing because it represented more than just a tasteless joke. It symbolized a growing frustration with daytime TV's tendency to chase hype at any cost. If going after a preschooler was seen as fair game, what else would they stoop to for attention? ABC understood that losing consumer trust could turn lethal for a daytime staple. Sponsors and viewers might vanish if the controversy persisted. Meanwhile, Musk stood poised to hammer home the narrative that the network condoned bullying. The tension seemed unsustainable, and the longer it dragged on, the more it risked damaging the show's standing. The path to salvation might involve acknowledging the harm done. Yet neither Whoopi nor Joy appeared eager to recant. Loyal viewers argued that critics were overreacting, ignoring The View's many positive qualities. However, that defense paled next to the uproar. The image of a group of adults mocking a child, even briefly, overshadowed everything else the show had accomplished. In past controversies, The View weathered storms by capitalizing on the adage that any press is good press. But in this instance, negative attention was off the charts. People who didn't care about daytime TV suddenly found themselves invested, appalled by the idea of humiliating a toddler in front of a national audience. The stain might be too large to scrub away with a simple shift in topics or a lukewarm apology. Speculation grew over whether the network would force changes on the panel. Some insiders claimed producers privately considered whether removing certain hosts could calm the outrage. Others dismissed that as rumor, pointing out that the show's core appeal lies in its strong personalities. Sacrificing them might risk further alienating fans. So ABC faced a gamble: keep the hosts and hope viewers forgive, or replace them and risk total upheaval. Musk, for his part, seemed to enjoy using his platform to criticize what he saw as establishment hypocrisy. He reminded his audience that media figures demand respect for themselves, but mock others freely. Public sympathy leaned his way this time. Nobody likes seeing a child targeted. That moral clarity gave Musk a major advantage in the eyes of viewers who might otherwise not support him. Ultimately, the question remains: will The View manage to outrun this scandal? Society has a short memory for controversies, but viewers tend to draw the line at children. Even if the show survives financially, it faces a tarnished legacy. For many, mocking a toddler's name indicates a lapse in judgment that exposes a deeper problem. The talk show, once recognized for opinionated but meaningful dialogue, now looks like a stage for cheap shots. Should the show's ratings dip long enough, it might prompt a major shakeup. producers could test out new voices to restore credibility, or the network might insist on formal guidelines for what's considered off-limits. Either way, the narrative will be hard to control. Musk's relentless style means he can keep focus on this incident as long as he wants, ensuring that The View remains in the hot seat. Meanwhile, social media users keep dissecting every follow-up episode, waiting for any hint of contrition or further provocation. The hosts find themselves under a microscope, knowing that even a slight offhand comment might ignite new uproar. Their historically combative approach might now be a liability. The environment has changed. The public is watching for any sign that they haven't learned a lesson about basic respect. At its core, this is more than just a spat between a talk show and a billionaire. It's a reflection of deeper concerns about media ethics, the sensationalism that dominates daytime TV, and the power celebrities wield when they fight back. It challenges the notion that a kid's name can be fair game just because his father is controversial. For once, online outrage centers on a moral boundary instead of partisanship. In the coming weeks, the furor may calm. Perhaps new headlines will overshadow this fiasco, but the memory won't vanish for those who felt personally offended. That kind of anger can last, altering the way people view not just the hosts, but the entire show. And if The View continues down the same path, or if Musk keeps stoking the flames, the dispute may end up reshaping daytime TV norms altogether. One thing is certain, everyone involved will leave this conflict changed. Whether it's a lesson in humility or a blow that topples a daytime giant remains uncertain. Musk finds himself in a rare position where his critics also defend him on principle. Whoopi and Joy are left to face the fallout of a quip that caused more damage than they likely anticipated. And The View, a show that once thrived on no-holds-barred commentary, now contends with accusations of crossing a line it might never fully erase. At the center is a child who never asked to be in the limelight. A reminder that the boundary between entertainment and exploitation can be thin, and sometimes crossing it comes at a steep price.